Contact us to avail the combo offer of General Studies and Public Administration optional with 20% discount.
Okay. First of all, some terminologies, basic concepts. Okay, so gig economy or gig workers are those workers which are outside the purview of labor laws. They are not having, let's say, social security safety net, or we can say that they are working in a such situation outside the formal employee-employer relationship. They are called as gig workers. And overall, the, let's say, part of economy which revolves around gig workers, we will call it as gig economy. Okay, so from this we understand that to some extent they are part of informal economy. Okay, so what is formal sector and informal sector in economy? We all are aware about that. In general, we know that formal sector or formal economy is that part of economy wherein we can say there is regulation through the labor laws and other laws of the economy. At the same time, the employees are receiving some benefits like fixed hours of working are there. So working conditions are also we can say delineated in those laws. There is social safety net provided to employees. So that is called as formal economy. But informal is devoid of all these aspects. Okay, in India, according to Economic Survey of 2017-18, let's say about the facts, around 93% of India's workers, they work in informal economy. And in recent times, the gig economy is adding to that. So that means the share of informal workers or working in an informal sector is increasing. So that's why we are calling it as informalization of the economy. On one hand, we are actually, the policy objective is what? We want to formalize the informal sector. We want to extend the social security benefits to the workers which are working in the informal economy. But through this gig economy, basically opposite is happening. Now, this gig economy, especially in recent times, for example, the technology platforms, it has increased using technology platforms like, for example, food delivery apps or platforms. Which are the food delivery like Zomato? Okay, Zomato is there, Uber food is there, or we can say, which are other things? Which are the other platforms for food delivery?
Swiggy.
Yes, Swiggy is there. Okay, then we have for the travel sector. So in travel we have Ola, Uber and many other, we can say that. In terms of other delivery like nowadays in other areas like groceries, then medicines. So in these areas, this economy is expanding. Earlier there was, we can say, travel and food delivery only. Now it is expanding to other areas. Now the uniqueness of gig economy is that, you know, there are some advantages. First of all, we'll talk about the advantages. Suppose I am the worker working in a gig economy. Suppose I am, let's say, a food delivery person. Okay, so what I will have, I will just register on that platform, and whenever suppose the order is there, I will receive that order, I will deliver that order. Now, I am as a delivery boy or delivery person can avail or use different platforms simultaneously. So I can be a food valet or delivery valet for Zomato, Uber or Uber Eats also, as well as a Swiggy also. I need to just install and register for that. Second thing, yes, I am having flexible hours. That means suppose I am working in LUKMAAN IAS as a faculty, and after my office hours I am delivering foods also. That means there are flexibility hours. We know that these delivery workers, they are actually working in other sectors, but after their office hours they are delivering food also in the evening time after office hours. This is, we can say, additional, it is supplementing the income, monthly income of the, you can say, youth or those personnel here. The third thing, as third aspect, we can say that the more you work, the more you earn. This is how the policy is there. The more you work, the more you, let's say, receive the benefits. So all these are actually the positives here. These are the positives. But what are the problems? Okay, what are the challenges involved here? So in this manner, we should understand the challenges are the problem here. First thing is that no labor laws are applied at present. Second, no, we can say, formal employer relations. They are subjugated basically to technology or algorithm. Indirect control by company. No social safety cover. Okay, and we can say that in terms of challenges, okay, yes, so you can mention these challenges in gig economy. So informalization of the economy is happening through this. First thing is that labor laws. Okay, so labor laws, especially after, let's say, the labor code that has reorganized all the earlier labor laws and social security laws into 4 labor codes. Okay, so they are not covering the gig economy or gig workers here. Okay, so specific conditions of work, working hours are not fixed here. Okay, so they are not, the laws are not applied. Suppose there is any problem, suppose the delivery boy met with accident. Okay, or suppose, let's say, the remuneration of that person, suppose, is not delivered by the company, then there is no appropriate grievance redressal also. No appropriate grievance redressal also. They do not have bargaining powers also. Why? Because they are not organized. Unionization of gig workers is at nascent stage. No strong bargaining power is there. Then social safety net. Okay, so social safety cover, especially when we are talking about the added benefits, like we can say that the different allowances that are given to the employees, or we can say that post retirement benefits, we talk about the formalization, social security, the health insurance, we talk about that. Okay, suppose a food delivery boy, suppose meets with an accident, that accident coverage should be covered by the company, that health insurance should be provided by the company, that social safety net is not provided here. Okay, so such kind of unforeseen events, that is to be, let's say, handled by the gig workers by themselves. This is the major challenge. No formal employer-employee relationship. So basically these companies, they are not themselves calling as employer, rather they are using different kind of nomenclature here. Okay, so that's why there is problem in applying these laws to these companies also. They are not calling themselves as employer. Okay, they are calling themselves as aggregators. Okay, Zomato company or Swiggy company. So they are calling themselves as aggregators, and therefore they are saying that we are not employing these employees. Rather, they are just acting as a, let's say, receiving the benefits here, whatever the service they are providing through that app. So basically they are subjugated to the technology. Algorithm. How? For example, basically whatever the amount of money for the delivery charges is decided by algorithm, they have to receive that. Suppose there is in evening, there is surge, therefore there will be more delivery charges, right? And during lean time, there will be less delivery charges. Okay, but at the same time, if there is more surge, more and more gig worker will log in there. So what will happen? There will be problem in having the order by that particular gig worker. Okay, so demand and supply aspects are basically the outcome of that technology or algorithm. So these gig workers are not having any kind of say in that aspect. Okay, so they have to listen to what that particular technology or that platform algorithm is saying. So to some extent that is subjugation to the technology. They do not have any say in that. For example, earlier, 50 rupees used to be paid to the Zomato delivery valets, and now that has reduced to 20 rupees or 10 rupees also during the weekdays here. Okay, so this is how the company is having monopoly in deciding all these benefits. Indirect control by company. How indirect control? Basically the employer or the company is playing an important role here. How? For example, suppose the gig worker wants to log into that platform. Then at home he cannot log in. He has to come to the, let's say, heavy rush area, or those, let's say, more restaurants are located. He need to come in that area, then only he can log in. So no flexibility as such. Okay, so you may have seen all these workers are, let's say, having let's say staying in one particular location where the restaurants are located largely. You are aware about that. So this is the criteria by the company itself. At the same time, we should be also aware that how this control is exercised by company. Suppose I am the worker and I have taken some break of 2 to 3 days, and suddenly after 3-4 days I am logging in, then I will not receive that many orders by the company. Okay, so the more continuous I am there or consistent I am there, I will receive more orders. Otherwise the company is not providing those benefits here. In this manner, basically indirectly company is playing the control here, not direct but indirect. Okay, so no grievance redressal, no bargaining power. So all these are the challenges faced by the gig workers in the gig economy, you can say. Now, what we can do? Sorry? Social safety net. Yes. So yes, I will explain that one. Yes. So social safety basically covers various types of, let's say, benefits by the employer. Okay. So social safety, for example, provident fund. Suppose let's say a particular employee is working in a company, and that company is let's say in the formal sector, we can say. It is a registered company and all the employees are receiving the social safety benefits. For example, some amount of salary will be, let's say, included, the percentage, a share of that salary, the employer is putting that amount in the provident fund account of that employee. At the same time, health insurance benefits are provided, home allowance is provided, or let's say travel expenses are also provided, or post security benefits like pension contribution. All these are part of social security. This is very important. Okay.
But the recent harassment cases over that Zomato guy and also on the Ola cab driver, are they not covered? It's not covered, I think.
It is not at all covered. This is the problem. Social Security Code is there 2020. This was passed by the Parliament in last year. This Social Security Code defines gig workers or gig economy, but does not talk much about providing social security net to these gig workers. Okay, at present. At the same time, the labor code, the remaining labor code and labor laws, they are not applied to this gig economy. This is what the recommendation also, or we can say findings of Parliamentary Standing Committee, they also talk about this, that at present we do not have much data. Okay, so major challenge when with our policy challenge, major policy challenge faced by the government at present is that the government is not having sufficient data about these gig workers. How? Because these companies themselves are not maintaining the data about these workers. Many workers are signing in, many workers are leaving. So they basically, it is like a temporary basis relationship. Okay, so the government itself is not having data about gig workers. If they are not having data about gig workers, how government itself can extend the legal protection or social safety benefits protection to them? So, as a part of way forward, the first and foremost aspect you should write here is that data collection by Labor Ministry about gig workers. When the data is collected, we will understand the extent of gig economy in India, how many workers are employed there, and the working conditions of these workers, we can able to understand. Second thing, after finding the data, collection of that data, then we can say that the benefits of government schemes for workers can be extended. Are you aware about the situation faced by these gig workers during the first lockdown? These workers were not having enough income. They were not having enough income to pay the rent or have the two-time meal in the urban areas. Most of them are located in urban areas, and they faced many problems. And that's why at that time the platforms like Zomato or this Swiggy, they asked the government to at least allow them to deliver the food or whatever the work they are doing. And that's why after some days the government allowed that part. Okay, so this is how the problem they faced at that time, and government was not having data about them. Then how it could extend the, let's say, benefits of, suppose Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana is there, free food grains are to be distributed, or we can talk about the migrant workers in urban areas. They received some kind of benefits because they had some kind of data with the government, right? So that was extended. What about these gig workers? No data was provided. Okay, so once the data is available, the benefits of government schemes, especially during the emergency times or these pandemic times, they can be provided. Third thing is that there is need of amendment to Social Security Code 2020 and other labor codes to include all the aspects of gig economy, here, because this is evolving. Okay, this is still evolving. In future we do not understand how this is going to further expand in which areas also. Okay, Please explain new labor code that include gig workers. See, it is not specifically labor code, rather the social security code. The social security code, that is one of the labor code. That is one of the 4 labor code. Social safety or social security code 2020 just defines gig workers. It does not talk about extending these social safety nets by the employers to the gig workers. It does not talk about that. That's why we are saying that we need to amend that social security code to bring those under the formal sector here. Okay. Now, after understanding this, you should understand that at the international stage itself, for example, in UK court has recognized gig workers as the part of formal economy, and it has asked the employers of these gig workers to provide all the social safety nets or social safety benefits like formal sector. That means all labor codes and social safety codes social security codes are provided to the gig workers also. We need to take input from such developments in other countries, and the government should expedite on the policy matters here. Law matters and policy matters. Okay, now after understanding this, one more point especially regarding defining the employer-employee relationship in gig economy. This is the problem here. The employers at present, they are shrugging off their responsibility. They are not being held accountable by the government. So this clearing the definition, or we can say that the relationship between employer and employee, this will bring more clarity here. It will help to have some kind of, let's say, grievance redressal mechanism by the employers to solve the problems of their employees. Okay, so suppose any gig worker is having some problem in terms of, let's say, the amount of money that it is supposed to receive from the employer, then such kind of appropriate grievance redressal mechanism should be there, and the government should have access to that kind of grievance redressal mechanism. Okay, so in this manner, this aspect should be also understood. Employer-employee relationship should be very clear here. At present, this is the major challenge, I can say. And ultimately, we can say that gig economy should be formalized as part of formal sector under labor codes. Okay, so all aspects of labor laws should be applied to gig economy also. Okay, so here we are restricting our discussion with gig economy. We are not expanding with the informal sector and informalization of economy. Please try to understand, already UPSC asked in GS3 paper such question regarding the unorganized sector and the informal economy, all these aspects. Okay, yes, regarding formal and informal economy, yes, let me again explain the concepts involved here. Informal economy or informal sector is that sector wherein the labor laws of the government, social security related aspects of the law, and the defined working conditions and working hours which are there in labor laws, they are not applied to all these workers. For example, suppose contract workers. Suppose, for example, I am the contractor in the construction sector and I am employing those 5 employees for 3 days work. Okay, I am employing 5 workers for 3 days work in the construction sector and I am paying them daily wages. This becomes the part of informal sector. Okay, so basically this particular sector is employing all those unskilled labor, and largely it is part of unorganized sector. When we say unorganized, they are also outside the purview of formal economy. Okay, so this is informal sector or informal part of economy. What is formal sector? For example, suppose the government employees, or suppose the IT company is there. Now IT company is registered under the Company Act, and these companies are supposed to follow the laws, labor laws under the labor code here. At the same time, they are also supposed to provide all social safety or social security benefits that are there under the legal provisions. Okay, so that's why they ask you about all these aspects, right? They ask you about we can say the health insurance, whether you have a health insurance or not, or post retirement benefits, all the, let's say, contract, the company contract that we have in formal sector, it includes all these aspects. Okay, so this is how the formal sector is different from the informal sector, and at present the formalization of economy is only maximum up to 10%. 90% in India, Indian economy is working in informal sector itself. Okay, and the workers are not receiving the benefits of the formal sector here. Okay, any question?
Yes, sir. Sir,
Yes.
in this directly daily paid labor, sir, under this, whatever the employees are going to be working under the platform.
Daily wage workers.
Yes.
We can call it, but in daily wage workers, they are much dependent on the employer, right? There is no flexibility of the work. Basically, we will say that daily wage workers are those workers who are very much dependent on that employer or that contractor for daily income. But these gig workers, try to understand, they are voluntary involved here. Many of them are, we can say, earning from other incomes also, and they are very much flexible in their own working. These gig workers are to some extent different than the other workers. Try to understand. Earlier we talked about benefits, right? So the flexibility, the working hours, or we can say that if I do not feel like doing work at present, I will just log out from that platform. This is how they are working there. So can the daily wage worker has that opportunity or flexibility here? Otherwise he will not receive benefits, wages, and they are actually much dependent on that daily wage for even 2 times a meal.
Sir, under engineering, the people who are enrolled under engineering, can we consider them under formal sector, or are they informal itself, sir?
Informal. MG Narega is completely, we can say that they are doing manual labor, unskilled labor. Whatever the unskilled labor is there, that is largely part of informal sector or unorganized sector. Okay, semi-skilled and skilled labor is part of formal sector.
Yes, sir, thank you, sir.
Yes.
So based on this one, can we say all contract laborers are whatever the heavy constructions and highways and bridge
Yes.
channels, all are informal sector money only,
Yes.
but up to contractor.
Yes. This is the problem. Largely the construction sector is employing all these, we can say, manual laborers in as part of informal sector.
Lakhs of crores are turnover from the government and private sector. There is no any transparent way of that one.
No, not from government. Okay, government employees, they are part of formal economy. Government employees, but the contract based employees, again we will say that they are not receiving social safety benefits. temporary employees are also there employed by the government. Are you aware about that? Like for railway sector, railway is largest employer of the government. They employ many employees on monthly basis or daily basis many a times also for certain works.
Yes, sir. Service, especially sweeping and cleaning service sector.
Yes. So try to understand that majority of the Indian economy is part of informal economy, right?
Contact us to avail the combo offer of General Studies and Public Administration optional with 20% discount.